We are now live.
I can't hear you. Try again.
We are currently live when anyone wants to begin.
Thanks for your patience, everyone. We're having some audio issues. Madam President, can you try to speak again? Thanks for your patience, everyone. Sorry about this. We're going to try something else.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, we're just gonna go from my cell phone.
Okay.
Right. Are we live?
We are live.
Okay, perfect. So we're gonna start again. We're gonna call the meeting to order. At this time, our clerk will read the roll.
Taylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Mosley,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
All members are present.
At this time, we're going to be prayer by Councilman Mike Freeman. Immediately following our prayer, I'm going to ask if Councilwoman Mosley could lead us in the pledge.
Okay, very good. We'll pray together. Father, we come to you tonight, and we're reminded that you've told us that if our lips would cease to bring you honor, that even the rocks and trees would cry out. And so we just acknowledge your greatness, and we're also reminded that you tell us, lean not to our own understanding, but all our ways to acknowledge you, and you would direct our paths. So tonight we acknowledge not only your greatness, but also your guidance. And our dependency is 100% upon you, and we ask you to continue to remind us of that moment by moment. Thank you for the places you've called us to and for the people that you've called us to serve. We pray in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance
Flag
to the flag of the United
of the
States
United
of
States of
America
America
and to the
And to the
republic
republic
for which
it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
with liberty
and
justice for all.
The minutes from our previously held meeting have been provided. Are there any additions or corrections? Councilman Fusco,
Motion to approve.
we have a motion to approve. Can we get a second, Councilwoman Amobian?
Second.
Roll call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Mosley,
aye.
Neal,
Stay.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
The minutes passed 12-0.
Before you, you have the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve? Councilman Fusco,
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
can we get a second, Councilman Kamer?
Second.
Roll call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Mosley,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Okay.
The consent agenda passes 13-0.
We have two public hearings scheduled for this evening. Our clerk will read in item number 1.
Notice is hereby given that the following public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, January 10th, 2022, during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. Resolution adopting the 2022 Capital Investment and Community Development Program.
All right. Mrs. Tomit?
Good evening, Madam President, council members. The city administration annually prepares a capital investment and community development program for city council consideration. The budget specifies the types, locations, costs, and general descriptions of capital investments planned for implementation throughout the year. The capital investment and community development program includes the following: street and sidewalk improvements, improvements to park, improvements to community centers, the purchase of police vehicles, fire vehicles, and vehicles for public service, purchase of 1 engine truck and 1 ladder truck, water and sewer system upgrades. The objective of the capital budget is to construct or rehabilitate facilities vital to residents of Akron, encourage private investment, thereby increasing the city's tax base, leveraging federal, state, and private funds whenever possible to fund capital projects, and to provide capital improvements in support of long-term consistent with the city land use plan. The 2022 capital budget is approximately $353 million. Of this, $99 million is from local funds, $2.9 million from regional resources, approximately $166.8 million in state funds, $73.3 million in federal funds, and $10.8 million in private funds. OID and city staff completed their first review with City Council this afternoon at 4:00. We covered the Parks and Recreation section, housing and community services, economic development, and miscellaneous. At a future date, we will continue to our presentation to talk about transportation and public facilities. And then on Monday, January 24th at 4:00, we will review the capital and sewer capital needs. Final approval of this budget is required by February 14th, 2022 per City of Akron Charter. Thank you, and open it up to any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Tomix. At this moment in time, we will go ahead and open up our public hearing. We do have one individual who has signed up to speak before us, and that is Fran Wilson. Fran, can you hear?
Yes, can you hear me good?
Oh, we can. Thank you so much. So before you bring forth your comments, I'm just going to ask that you be sworn in by a member of our law department.
If you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth? If so, please say I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. So Fran, you can begin.
Hi, thank you. Chair and respected committee members, I wanted to come today to talk about the capital budget process and some ideas I've had. Today, I sent out a memo talking about doing a possible town hall to increase public participation. Indeed, we've had 2 public hearings and no citizens were speaking at the first, and I am one of, or maybe the only one to speak tonight for a budget that is rather large and includes a lot of really, really important programming that affects a lot of people. I wanted to come today to just offer 4 ideas of how we can increase public participation in this process. One was outlined in my memo, creating some sort of town hall next week or the week after, giving y'all enough time to be able to collect some feedback on possible alterations to the budget. Another would be to add public participation in the pitching and idea collection process. I know I only made it through half of the review session today because of work, but I noticed Councilor Fusco mentioned that citizens can go through their counselors. And I think that's great. I wish we would articulate that a little bit more in June, July, and August. Similar to how we've been collecting information through Google Forms for ARPA funds ideas. I also wonder if next time we could schedule public hearings after information sessions. 4 p.m. is a tough time for a lot of working people to get to a meeting and also to sit through an hour and a half, as you know, which can be exhausting and hard to get through, especially without all the information. And that gets to my last ask for the next time we do this. Is it possible that we could make that memorandum that's publicly available that details each line item with 1 sentence of the budget, if we could expand upon that, make it maybe a little bit more interactive, add some more documentation to it, a little bit more information about the organizations and companies that we're collaborating with, and where those funds will be specifically distributed to. I know it's a lot to ask to add to this already robust and sometimes chaotic process. But I just wanted to pass along some ideas that I've had and some ideas that have been discussed with several citizens that I've been talking to today. Thanks for all your hard work. Keep it up. And thank you so much for the asking and deliberation in the review session. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Fran, for your input. We appreciate it. At this time, we're going to go ahead and we're going to close our public hearing. Councilman Fusco, what is the committee's pleasure?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to pull the committee for time to refer this item. Baylor,
Aye.
Mosley,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Cameron.
Aye.
Thank you. Before the committees refer this item.
This item will be referred.
Notice is hereby given that the following public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, January 10th, 2022, during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. Ordinance authorizing a conditional use to construct an oversized garage at 1899 Fay Road.
Mr. Antonucci?
Yes, thank you, Madam President, members of council. Randy Baker is seeking approval to construct an accessory structure in the rear yard of his residence. Proposed garage measures 28 feet in width by 48 feet in length for 1,344 square feet in area. This neighborhood is characterized by large homes on deep lots. The petitioner has stated that the garage would be used for the personal storage of vehicles, trailers, and yard equipment. The proposed garage will add value to this large 35,600 square foot property and the neighborhood without imposing on surrounding neighbors. Office of Integrated Development, Planning Staff, and Planning Commission recommend approval subject to the conditions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We did not have anyone who signed up to speak in favor or against this ordinance. So we will go to Councilman Fusco to get the committee's pleasure.
Thank you. I'd like to pull the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules. Baylor,
Aye.
Mosley,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Cameron.
Aye.
The report of the committee is favorable and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Are there any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you. I do know that the ward council representative, Mr. McKittrick, has looked into this. He's in favor of this. The planning commission department are all in favor. And this is conducive to the neighborhood. There's like 4, I believe, conditions that the petitioners agreed to follow. So we're recommending approval this evening.
Thank you so much. The rules have been suspended. Committee's report is favorable. All in favor, roll call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Mosley,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
This ordinance passes 13-0.
We'll now move into old business, planning and economic development. Councilman Fusco.
Requested committees for time on 3 through and including 5. And then to file item number 6, that's the petition for conditional use we just voted on. So please file 6 and then time on the balance. Thank you.
Time will be granted. Housing and neighborhood assistance, Councilman Fusco.
Time on the agenda.
Time will be granted. That concludes our old business. We'll now move to legislation.
Item number 1, offered by Fusco. Ordinance authorizing the purchase of various interests in real property located on or around Goodyear Boulevard to facilitate the completion of the Goodyear Boulevard Bridge Replacement Project, authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into related agreements and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 2, offered by Fusco. Ordinance approving the transfer of city-owned property pursuant to the city's MODA-owned program in order to facilitate the productive reuse of the property and to reduce the cost to the city and the taxpayers in maintaining vacant lots, determining said property is not needed for public use and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco,
Consent agenda.
this item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 3, offered by Fusco. Ordinance approving the project petition for special assessments for special energy improvement projects related to the acquisition, construction, installation, and improvement of certain public improvements in the city of Akron, Ohio at 161 South High Street in cooperation with the Akron Summit County Energy Special Improvement District Incorporated, approving the necessity of that project, determining to proceed with that project, levying special assessments for the purpose of paying the costs of that project, approving a cooperative agreement and a special assessment agreement related to that project, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco,
Consent agenda.
this
I'm
item
asking
will,
also, if I could, President Somerville, ensure that all of council review these documents. It's somewhat voluminous, but this is reference the Ocasek, the rehabilitation of the Ocasek building. And this involves the assessments for the utility portion of it. And so therefore, we're asking that the council please, Special Energy Improvement District, and asking that the council please review this. And if there's any questions or comments, please forward those to myself and Mr. Sean Volman. Thank you.
thank you so much. This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 4, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to apply for and if awarded, accept and expend grant funding through the U.S. Department of Justice Bureau of Justice Assistance as part of the National Sexual Assault Kit Initiative to address cold case sexual assault matters and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Boomer,
Thank you, Madam President. Committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you, Madam President. This funding would continue the support of investigation and prosecution of cold case sexual assault cases with additional funding for community partners and training, education related to sexual assaults. And we're asking for passage.
Okay, thank you so much. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor, roll call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Moloch,
Aye.
Mosley,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
This ordinance passes 13-0.
Okay. Thank you so much. That concludes legislation for this evening. We'll now move to the portion of our meeting that we will our public comment period. I'm just going to ask if our clerk will let us know when all of our participants are in the room.
Looks like they are all in the room and they are connecting to audio.
Okay, just let us know when we're ready.
We're ready.
Okay, wonderful. So at this time, we are going to begin with our public comment period. I'm just going to ask that all those who are wishing to speak during our public comment period turn their video on and make sure they're unmuted. And just going to ask that you be sworn in by a member of our law department.
Those wishing to make comment, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth? If so, please answer, I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're just going to ask if you please state your full name and give us your address. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak to this body. Speakers are reminded that this is an official meeting, so we would like for you to keep your remarks respectful and germane to council business. So at this time, we will start with Nicholas Casiopo.
Hey y'all, my name is Nick Casiopo, I live at 41 Marshall Avenue. Last week y'all heard from KMG Prestige and Redwood Housing about their supposed plans for the Erickson and Wilbith. For time's sake, I just want to let you all know that most of what they had to say were lies, and a number of you all kind of just went along with it. A few of you even lied yourselves, acting as if you've been in communication with tenants or the union. I highly doubt that tenants would have said they were satisfied with KMG Redwood and the poor renovations they are doing if you had actually taken time to speak with them. You all should have received some links to videos of the meeting between tenants KMG and Redwood that took place on December 14th. In them, you see lots of tenants rightfully angry, and you see management staff who are unable to address concerns, but are willing to get into the faces of tenants and tell them they are lying. I'm not sure how KMG or Redwood could possibly say this meeting was a success or that they are on good terms with the tenants. A few days ago, we interviewed 2 tenants who were in the original Akron Beacon Journal article about the horrid conditions at Erickson and Wilbith. Links to those videos were also sent to you. The tenants watched the committee meeting and flat out say KMG and Redwood are lying. They were moved into a newly renovated unit 2 months ago with sewage coming up through the floor and drains, through the walls, and nothing has been fixed yet, despite repeated calls to management. You've known about this for several months now, and yet you all have done nothing. Some of you have known about this for years and have done nothing. Like literally, aside from touring these properties, you have done nothing to change anything for these tenants. That's pathetic. During the tenant union's meeting with HUD last week, which again was another circus where people unaffected by these conditions continue to pass the buck around, Jeff Fusco had the gall to say that the city doesn't have the resources to inspect these properties. Jeff, who along with the rest of you gave a $145 million blank check to Dan Horrigan, really had the nerve to tell tenants the city doesn't have the resources to inspect their homes. You all voted to buy the APD a new $300,000 tank 2 weeks ago, but somehow there aren't any resources for safe housing? The renovations have not and are not fixing any of the problems. Think about that carefully. Redwood Housing is paying contractors to do superficial renovations that are not resolving problems with rats, roaches, mold, and sewer backup. The majority of tenants and units in these complexes continue to experience the same problems with maintenance, health and safety, management, rising rents, and so on. You can't keep skirting accountability here. If it means all of you have to come out yourselves and inspect these apartments, then so be it. That will probably be the most useful thing many of you have done in your entire careers as public servants. But to continue to pass the buck and do nothing is pathetic and unacceptable. And don't forget that these 2 complexes are just the tip of the iceberg. They're the canary in the coal mine for Akron, and these problems are going to become evident in more and more of the city's rental properties. Peace.
Thank you. Kiana Winchester.
Hi, my name is Kiana Winchester. I live at 1125 Toby Terrace. I live in Ward 5. I have been living in Erickson Apartments. I live in one of the newly renovated apartments. And ever since I moved in my apartment, I have nothing but issues. I thought that it would be better because they got us in something looking better, something nicer, looking more up to date. But in reality, it's not. My kids are scared to get in the tub because they are scared of roaches. We haven't never lived with roaches or none of that. And my kids can't go outside because we don't know if it's going to be unsafe if they're going to be shooting or not. We can't get in touch with management to let them know about anything. This has been really stressful and really messing with my mental on top of my kids. So I just want to see better for these apartments. They have potential, but with our management, I watched the meeting last week. They told a lot of stories about a lot of different things. We do not have 100% pest control. They told me that they would come every 2 months. Every 2 weeks. I'm sorry, I apologize. And I have not seen a pest control person since 2 weeks after I moved into my apartment was the other day. And maintenance management was not with them. They gave them keys to our apartments to come in and it was not with them. And they did not give us a 24-hour notice. So I understand that HUD give all this money for us to live where we live at. But I feel that HUD should come in and look and see where they're giving their money to. management pick 5 different apartments that they want for HUD to see. Don't do that. They should go on all of them, or they should let HUD pick their own apartments. I understand that we live in low income housing, but I feel like we should be treated just like everybody else.
Thank you so much, Ms. Winchester, for thank you. Thank you. Edmika Minter?
A person did not sign into the meeting.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on to Dee McCall.
Hello and good evening, everyone. My name is Dee McCall. I live at 200 East North Street in Ward 5, and I am a community organizer with the Freedom Block. I just would like to go over the housing ordinance of just a healthy environment, health, and housing code. It's chapter 150, and if we can identify chapter 150.08, which identifies the bathrooms, which is C, and D is the water lines, E, the heating facilities, D, screening, and H, rodent protection, and also 150.10 with general maintenance. If we all were to go over all of those ordinances that supposedly all of the buildings within the city are supposed to uphold, it would identify all of the ramifications that was said in the committee meeting on Monday. It is very disrespectful to speak on behalf of tenants who are living in deplorable spaces and is affecting their health. And to have the management and also the owners speak on behalf as though they have a good rapport with the tenants. The links that Nick spoke about, it identifies the tenant meeting that they had with all of the residents, KMG and Redwood, with the tenant members of Erickson and the Wilbith, and everyone was unhappy. The contact person, Connie, she was very disrespectful to all of the members and did not answer any of the issues that were at hand. She brought it to City Council, identifying that these were issues that she was handling. However, at that December 14th meeting, she identified that she was unaware of certain things, and people have been complaining for over 2 to 3 months. I identified the heating facilities. We do have a tenant on the line who didn't have heat for 2 months, and it is the winter time. And she also is a mother that has her child in her unit. So there are many different issues that I do want you all as City Council just to go over with the ordinances, because this is something that should be upheld. And I believe that this is the space that should hold these ordinances. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Dee. Ally Coker.
Hello, good evening. I am Ali Coker with the Freedom Block in Akron. I live in Ward 5, 774 Fuller Street. And I wanted to propose possibilities for community reinvestment. We looked at the revenue for marijuana as it is up to date, and it was around $600 million. So I would like to propose that we take the roughly $26 million in taxes from that, sales taxes, and reinvest it in the community for better schooling, better housing, better parks and recreation, and things like that.
Thank you so much. At this time, if we can have Ryan King and Lois Yost, please turn on your video, and we're going to have both of you be sworn in by a member of our law department. I think you guys came in just a little bit after we had did that. Do we have someone on from law?
Yes, I didn't see them turn their cameras on. I was just waiting a second.
Okay, perfect. Let me know.
Okay.
And for Ryan King and Lois Yost, if you're wishing to participate in public comment period, I'm going to ask that you please turn your cameras on so that you may be sworn in by a member of our law department.
It looks like we have Luis Yost has joined us. Mr. Keen, if you can hear us, can you turn on your video?
We're gonna
Ryan is here. It's telling him that the host has disabled his
Okay, we might be trying to press the button at the same time. I'm trying to send you a prompt to ask you to start your video, so I won't do that. Will you try to turn that on again?
Okay. So this time we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on with Lois.
Okay, if you could please just take yourself off of mute. Okay, and please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth? If so, please answer, I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Lois, you can proceed with your comments.
Okay, I would like to also address some of the things that was previously stated about I had never knew who Redwood was until I watched your video on the 3rd. I have never had nothing mailed to me. Everything I get in the mail is stuck in my door. And if I don't get it to go to an appointment, it's my problem. And they will raise my rent, and I have that on document. But as far as repairs, when they first took over in February, my hot water tank went out. I had no hot water. And I called every single day, Monday through, sometimes twice a day. I had no hot water for 2.5 months. And it was the water, the section is like 5321.04 of the revised code. They have to provide me and my child, and I'm disabled, hot water. And we had none for 2.5 months. Until I started giving them code numbers, and I tried to put my rent in escrow, but I never knew who owned it. And I've never, to this day, I still do not have anything mailed from that. And then as far as the health and safety, well, with the mice and the pest control, they lied on the 3rd when they were speaking with you guys. They lied because the health and safety code, if you use chapter 3735.41 or 3735.43, and that is with HUD. I don't know which one we are anymore. They don't tell us what program we're on, but that's a violation for our health and safety codes. And since I am disabled, they refuse to give me any type of or acknowledge that I've been asking repeatedly for reasonable accommodations or modifications, denying it. They're rude, very rude over at the office for KMG, and they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to hear it. And they push me away. But under Title 2 and Title 3 of Section 504, that's a violation of my rights. Do like 3 different ones, fair housing and all that. There is no maintenance done ever. On the 15th, I went in and signed the form. And if I did not show up for that appointment, which was stuck again to my door, which has no screen, I'm glad it didn't blow away. And they said if I was not there at 3 o'clock, they're going to raise my rent to $950. I'm sorry. And it wasn't their problem. She said, if I don't get it, it's not my problem. That's what she told me at the office, KMG. I don't even make that much money on. Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Louise Yost. I live Ward 7. It's 985 North Deacons Boulevard. Sorry, read that. But underneath the Disability Act, the ADA, it was Section 504, Titles 2 and 3. And I'm sure there's other people besides just me that need, assistance. Nobody's asking us anything, and nobody has ever been to my unit. And where I'm at 985, I am by myself now. Like this whole unit, my whole row of units, I'm back here by myself now. And I have been discriminated against. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I done? But I have been discriminated against because I have complained, and I do have pictures and documentations on pre-certification. So I do believe that somebody should do something. Because they're
Yes,
getting
Louise,
all this funding.
thank you
I'm
so
sorry.
much. You've reached your 3 minutes, but we appreciate you coming forth and sharing those comments. So thank you so much for participating on this evening.
Okay, thank
I to give Ryan King another opportunity to pull up his video before we conclude with public comment period.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And it appears he might be having some technical difficulties. So what we will do is we will close our public comment period and we will move into committee assignment. Planning and Economic Development, Councilman Fusco.
1 o'clock.
Health and Social Services, Councilwoman Amobian.
2:30.
Parks and Rec, Councilman Neal.
1:45.
Public Utilities and Green Committee, Councilman Freeman.
2:45,
Rules, Councilman Freeman.
2 p.m.
Public Service, Councilwoman Mosley.
2 p.m.
Budget and Finance, Councilman Freeman.
3 p.m.
Housing and Neighborhood Assistance, Councilman Fusco.
Subject to call.
Public Safety, Councilman Kamer.
2:15.
And Capital Budget Review, Councilman Fusco.
We are scheduled for 4 o'clock at our next scheduled meeting. However, though, to let everyone know, we got through about half of our intended budget review today. So we will be announcing a time to finish this first half of the budget. And then at 4 o'clock on, excuse me, I'm trying to find my calendar to get the exact date, the 24th, on January 24th at 4 o'clock, we will be reviewing the public utilities portion. But the other items, it's going to be subject to a call. We'll let everyone know whenever we schedule that. So we got through about half of it today. So there's more yet to do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. At this time, is there anything else coming before council? I do see Councilwoman Mosley.
Thank you, Madam President. I just quickly want to address a few things. I'm always appreciative of the residents when they call in with their concerns and their input. I think it's greatly needed and warranted. However, it also concerns me when we have residents that call in that don't tell a whole entire factual story. So that always concerns me. You know, we have been dealing with, well, let me back up. Since I've come on council, I've been dealing with issues as it relates to whether it's the Erickson or when it was Hillwood Homes or the AK Rosemary. As I'm sure Mr. Kamer has dealt with issues over there as well. And these are not issues that have been ignored. They've been addressed. It becomes trying when you have a management company who constantly sells the business to another company, and then you have to start the process all over again. So I appreciate those individuals who are new to the game, but this is not new to us. We've been fighting this fight for a really long time. I've been through 3 different HUD secretaries since I've been on council. So this didn't just start yesterday. And the one thing that I think the residents need to know is the YouTube videos that are now being sent to us, none of those were sent to us before our committee meeting with these KM, whatever their acronyms are. None of these videos were sent to us prior to our meeting with them. So if we would have had those videos prior to our meeting, we could have brought their concerns up, but we weren't aware of those. I was only aware of them because they tagged me in a post and I watched them, and they were very concerning to me to watch the back and forth between the management company and residents. It was very concerning. However, for them to assume that we all consorted with a management company to give them a pat on the back is not factual, and that's not what happened. We went based off of them telling us how the meeting went. Didn't mean we believed them, meant we listened. Sometimes you just have to listen, and then you can go and have a conversation, a meaningful conversation, so you can actually try to move the needle. Because of that, Councilman Fusco was able to meet with HUD. I was unable to get on the call to try to move some things forward. So I don't want residents to think that we're all around here just kicking the can back and forth with each other. We are kicking the can down the road where it needs to go so things can happen. I had some residents mad because they said I only addressed the parking lot and speed bumps in a park. Well, for the record, I need them to understand that this is bigger than just their issue. This issue encompasses a whole community of people who've had issues for years in this development, not just them. So I have to take all of those voices and bring them to this management company. I brought up the park for a reason. 11 years ago, Carmela Holly was killed up there. And her mother is very adamant about them doing something to memorialize her daughter. So I wanted to be specific and intentional about making sure that was on the record for that family, because they deserve that. If all they want is something to memorialize their daughter, it is incumbent upon me to make sure that that was on the record for them. And they have agreed to make sure that they build a park in honor of that little girl. So yes, we have a rodent problem. Yes, we have a mold problem. Yes, we have a HUD problem. We have a HUD problem. We have a HUD problem. We have our issues we have to deal with, but we have a HUD problem here. And, you know, I have to be honest. When I went to HUD, it was about having the whole entire community raised and repurpose those families in better living conditions. I wanted it raised because I thought they should live in better conditions, and they should. As someone who lived in AMHA housing growing up, I know what that feels like. I know what that feels like because I've been there. And this is a HUD problem. It's our problem, but that funding is flowing through HUD. And so we do our part and we continue to push the needle, but we need HUD to do their part as well. So I don't want the residents to think that we're just all sitting here playing volleyball with each other. We're actually moving it further down the road than it's ever been moved in the 8 years that I've been here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Mosley. And I'm not so sure of the order, so I'm just going to kind of move down my list. Councilman Neal.
Thank you. Couple things. One, I know we had a retreat scheduled for the 22nd that I understand being canceled because of the virus. But if we can handle the city's business virtually, I think we should consider having our retreat virtually, not pushing it down. And I think we're going to have to maybe schedule several. With all that we heard during our budget discussion, and just the many issues that sit before us, so that we can set an agenda as council to really get some of these things addressed. We may want to consider holding that date and doing it virtual and just planning some other virtual meetings. That's one. Then number two, I hope we took time to hear the constituent that called about asking to be involved in the budget process. It is mandated in our charter that citizens be able to participate in the budget process. We can't always create a form that is convenient for us, even though many of us work, it's not always convenient. When I talk to colleagues in other cities, there have been colleagues that have had 13-hour budget sessions. 13-hour budget sessions. Nothing to say 6 hour. Handling the city's business. I'm not, Lord knows I'm not campaigning for a 13-hour session, But I am urging this council to do what is right and create a structure that allows our citizens to be engaged in the process. We were all asked to email in our comments. We should be able to track those comments, but our citizens should be able to track those comments through a tool to see what our questions are and how they were answered. We were wanting to track ARPA fund dollars, our regular budget dollars. And what would happen if we take dollars from here and put them there? We still have issue $4. We need a tool to be able to follow that. Folks, this is 2022. And to not allow our citizens to be engaged in the process and follow the process and comment with all the budget tools that are out there right now is unconscionable. And it's unfair. So we have time to put something in place before this process is through, and most definitely before we get to the operational budget. So again, I urge, this thing with our budget being online has come before us about 5 or 6 times. And it's time to do the right thing, honor the outline in our charter, and put a tool in place that allows citizens to be engaged in our budgetary process.
Thank you so much, Councilman Neal. And we are looking at a virtual option for our retreat. So just stay tuned. That information will come to your email, okay? Councilman Malik.
Thank you, Madam President. And I want to thank Ms. Winchester, Mr. Coker, Ms. McCall, and Ms. Yost for their comments and for sharing their personal experiences. We had a long discussion today about how we're going to use the $350 million that is allocated for our capital budget. And we heard once again tonight about how difficult the living conditions are for some of the folks in our city. And I really hope that we can find ways to move forward in addressing the parts of this that we can control. I think the area that we can most directly control is our city code and the enforcement of it. And I have so much respect for the folks who make up our housing division, the supervisors, for the inspectors. Many of us interact with them very frequently. But the reality is that they do not have the capacity to be able to do the job they need to do. And that's true for many city departments, I want to be clear. But it is impacting the daily lives and the lived conditions of people with regard to, because of the specific department. And I know we don't want to use ARPA money in a way that's unsustainable, but this is a crisis. And so if we take some of the ARPA money and we hire extra inspectors for the next few years and we address this crisis, we can figure out what that reality is in 3 years. But we have to deal with the crisis today. So I really hope that we can find our way to, and it doesn't have to be that solution. That seems to be one solution, but maybe there are changes we can make to the code. Maybe there are other avenues. And I know that we have several council members who've been working on this for many years. The last point I want to make is about civility. It's a free country. Everyone's allowed to say what they want to say, as long as there's not violent threats and things like that. But I do just want to say there's nothing honorable about trying to defend people who are being spit on by spitting on other people. Every person has dignity and every person deserves to be shown respect. And I hope that's true in the way that we all carry ourselves in the public square. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman Malik. Councilwoman Holland.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Councilman Malik. That's my feeling exactly. We are here to do work, and we are here to listen to one another and to exchange ideas and to look for a solution, sometimes under circumstances where it seems there is no way. Tonight, well, beginning this afternoon, we spent hours reviewing the proposed budget for the coming year. And it is inarguable that we spent a great deal of time, attention, and energy on the very issue of housing. And this was not a new move for this council. Indeed, we've spent a lot of time and energy and concern on housing in the 6 short months that I've been part of this body. And I feel it's important to take a moment to note that it is Jeff Fusco who made sure that those of us who were willing and available to do so had the opportunity to visit the Arlington Wilbeth and Erickson apartment units so that we could have a better understanding and so that we could have an opportunity to speak with a few available tenants. I have a lot of stories from more than 30 years as a trial lawyer, and you are fortunate that we're all limited by time. So I'm not even going to begin to tell you even some of these stories, but I will tell you one. And that is that on more than one occasion, I've had nothing less than a federal judge have me stand before him or her and gently but firmly point out that I was in the wrong building to make law. That in fact, it was not the role of the court to legislate. Well, I guess there's something about a goose and a gander that would somehow apply here, which is to say that the role of Akron City Council is legislative, that we are here to look for solutions that are legislative in nature. And this is not, this is not me proposing that we now or necessarily ever take some sort of a bow for doing our jobs, because our jobs are our jobs. But it is to say that our role in examining this situation, which I view, and I'm talking again now about Erickson and Arlington Wilbeth, I view as being a symptom of a very serious and very widespread problem in our community and beyond. I view our role as being to understand the contours of it, the depth and detail of it, and then, as some of us are doing even as I go on, research and understand what we can do legislatively in our jobs as members of Akron City Council to address.
No, we got.
Now, I guess what I want to point out about last week's meeting is what did happen. And I guess I want to offer some assurance as an old trial lawyer that it almost doesn't matter what was said on that record last week. It almost doesn't matter. And I want to offer assurance to the tenants and the advocates alike that what we have is a record. What we have are questions that were posed and answers that were given. And you can take my word that I listened very carefully, as did my colleagues. And you have a record of the questions that were asked and the answers that were given, which can most certainly prove useful in the places that you will go where laws are adjudicated, where facts are adjudicated and laws are enforced. Here we will continue to do the work of hearing your concerns, of providing this place where we can understand what's happening and look for a legislative solution. And I thank you for continuing to come back here. This is what we need to be doing as a community. And I thank you all for listening. Good night.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman. Councilman Freeman?
Yes, just wanted to take a moment to thank the Akron Fire Department. The situation we have is Akron Public School Board had several vacant school buildings on their hands, and 2 of those school buildings are in my ward. They, some months ago, were sold to individuals who, it's very apparent, did not have the capital to secure those buildings or to improve those buildings. One of the buildings was taken before the vacant building board here a few months ago. It was ordered raised. That was then appealed. Both of these schools have been a blight to our community. And this morning, one of the schools was set on fire, and it was a big fire too. So I just want to thank the Akron Public for the fire department, rather, to just the folks that they kept safe. It was a big blaze. I think if I'd have lived across the street from that fire, I'd have been real concerned for my house. But hoping to see some fast action on these vacant school buildings. I believe Councilman Neal might have one of them as well that these folks have purchased. But thanks to Akron Fire Department. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman Freeman. Councilman Kamer.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate the opportunity. I just wanted to briefly speak about some of the public comment period today. I appreciate the tenants and people coming forward with their concerns about Wilbeth, Arlington, and Erickson. I want to let my colleagues know that I want to thank actually Councilman Fusco for the invite last week, roughly 4 hours before the meeting with HUD and a representative from Sherrod Brown's office. So thank you, Councilman Fusco, for notifying me. And I was able to be part of that meeting last Thursday with representatives from HUD and Sherrod Brown's office. So the tenants and concerns from residents, we hear you. I think all my colleagues hear you, and we are moving forward. That's why I'm happy to say that I appreciate the discussions that we're having with leadership on council that is moving forward with these discussions. Now we have HUD involved and a representative from Sherrod Brown's office. And also this morning I spoke with Redwood. So that communication, actually I spoke with them last week too, with Redwood after our meeting we had. So that communication is going forward, and I think it's good communication, and that's what we have, and that's what we're going to continue doing. But also, I still want to hear from people, their concerns, so we can address them and just keep that communication going. So I just wanted to let my colleagues know that that meeting did take place last week, and Councilman Fusco and I was part of it. I know Mosley was invited, but she couldn't attend. And I know she cares a lot about Ward 5. So moving forward, we're here, and I'm anxiously going to continue moving forward. And then real quick before I end, one of my colleagues brought up about our housing division. I really think we need to look at that as council to potentially add more inspectors, add to their budget so they can go out and do their job better and more efficient. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Kamer. Councilwoman Amobian.
Thank you, Madam President. I think I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I certainly want the citizens to know that as we look at the capital budget, if you had heard our discussion this afternoon, we're asking the administration to try to reprioritize some of the areas on that budget so that we can address some immediate concerns in the housing area. I know that we keep talking about new housing, but a lot of folks want to stay in the house that they're in. They can't afford to move. And we would like to have more dollars put in the rehab area so we can help individuals stay in their homes. And again, we're trying to look at a solution for the situation in Ward 5 in Erickson and those other housing projects. And I can tell you that I, along with the other council members, are trying to figure out, is there a way to use our ARPA dollars to help us do some immediate things? I mean, it's one thing to make promises and work with folks that have not followed through. It's another thing to deliver. So if we can deliver with some of those dollars, I would like to see us do that. So just keep in mind that I appreciate you continuing to stay on this and stay on us, because that's what we should be doing, figuring out ways that we can help and address the concerns of our citizens. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman Amobian. Councilman Fusco?
Thank you, President Somerville. I appreciate the comments from the community as well. I also appreciate my colleagues' comments too. And I will tell you, in terms of those on council here, I don't believe for one second people coming forward and complaining and even attacking or making negative comments toward us. This is not going to dampen my resolve. And I don't think it's going to dampen anyone else's resolve on this council. You hear the frustration from Tara Mosley and from Donnie Kamer. They've been dealing with this for years. And that meeting that Mr. Kamer had spoke about and that Tara tried to get on to listen in, we weren't invited to that meeting. I called and asked to be invited. That's what happened, okay? And what happened was, and it's important, I think, to put everything in context, we just today talked about the lack of inspectors that we have in terms of the housing division. So it's not only going to be a capital budget discussion about housing, it's also an operating budget discussion as well, in terms of trying to get more folks out there. The context was that the folks from HUD was saying that we need to, maybe look at our records and do this and do that. Well, those records have been made available. They have been made available by Dwayne Greger and his folks. They've taken the time to fulfill those record requests. In terms of inspections, that's been done and emailed to the folks who have been asking for those. But in terms of actual inspections themselves, the context was simply this, and that was that we have thousands and thousands of housing units all over our city, and we're keeping up the best that we can. And that was all, that was it. And our inspections and the resolution of those inspections are a public record and are accessed. And I stand behind our housing division. Granted, those units are getting $40 million, and we're hoping and we're working toward making them safer. We're working toward finding ways to make it a safe and happy place for folks to live. But it's going to take us a little bit of time. But the thing of it is that there's a meeting this Thursday at 1:00. So I invite all of council again, let's continue these conversations. But again, this will not dampen our resolve to do what we can to help those out that need the help the most. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman Fusco. Are there any other comments at this time? We do want to make mention that there will be no meeting on next Monday as we celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. So it is my hopes that all of us as council members partake in some form of service or an activity that is taking place across the city on next Monday. Councilman Fusco, can we get a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
If there are no objections, meeting adjourned.
Concludes the live broadcast of Akron City Council. Margot Somerville, President of Council,